Well, the port was originally started in Bay City because they needed a north jetty. This was caused because of the sinking of the Argo in 1909. The Argo was a vessel of about 160 feet, and it was engaged in carrying products in and out of Tillamook. The Sue H. Elmore was a sister ship, and those two ships, before the railroad, they were the lifeline of Tillamook County. But then the Argo was crossing the bar, and it was picked up by a big wave and smashed down on the sandbars because the bar was shoaling.
Captain Robert Farley, based out of the recently formed Barview Life-Saving Station north of Garibaldi, launched out with his crew of surfmen to save the Argo and its passengers. Captain Farley would break his arm when the life-saving boat capsized. One of the lifesavers and 4 of the passengers were eventually drowned during the rescue.
That pointed up the need, and we'll find that in the history of the port, usually a crisis is what's needed in order to get some action.
With ocean-going vessels remaining the only practical means of importing supplies and exporting local cargoes of goods and lumbers throughout this period, it became essential for the livelihood of this community to try and remedy the rough Tillamook Bar. No one was more aware of the Tillamook Bar's impediment than Russell Hawkins. Mr. Hawkins was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in 1874. He began his career with the Diamond Match Company, becoming vice president and director. In 1907, Mr. Hawkins came to the Oregon country on behalf of the Whitney Lumber Company out of Detroit, Michigan. At the time, the Whitney Company held extensive timber holdings in the state. As the company's western manager, Hawkins estimated nearly 25 billion feet of high-grade timber was accessible through Tillamook Bay. Furthermore, Mr. Hawkins saw that Oregon's timber industry success and growth hinged on the Tillamook Bar's passage. By the time of the Argo sinking in 1909, it was evident that something had to be done. The bay would need large and expensive improvements. Jetties were determined to be necessary. Jetties, predominantly made of stone, extend from the shore into the sea to influence the current and to protect the harbor. Jetties would also deepen the Tillamook Bar crossing, which at low tide was only 7 feet deep, and to control sands which shifted across the entrance. It was determined a port must be developed to help initiate work on the bar and the jetty construction. Although the port of Tillamook had been established in 1899, their jurisdiction was limited to the city limits of Tillamook and the Hoquarton Slough. Bay City was seen as a fitting spot logistically. It would be close enough to the bay's opening to warrant authority at the crossing. But it would also be in close proximity to the future railroad and the community's many timber operations. Bay City had been established in 1888 by Winfield S. Cone. For many years, this area was simply known as Down the Bay, with modest activity and enterprises. It would be promoted through early real estate brochures, however, as a major metropolis with its deep-water seaport and future railroad terminus. On February 3, 1909, the Oregon legislature had passed House Bill 28, an act which allowed the formation of the port districts by popular vote. A petition was filed with the Tillamook County Clerk on February 25, 1910, to incorporate the Port of Bay City. Voters approved the measure 63-16 during a special election by the county on April 27, 1910. The Port of Bay City was legally incorporated as a municipal corporation on May 4, 1910. Within a month, Russell Hawkins and the Whitney Company arranged a meeting with the Port of Tillamook Commission and the newly formed Port of Bay City Commission to discuss building the jetties with the Corps of Engineers. By July of 1910, both ports had resolved to pledge cooperation and funds to develop 2 jetties and dredging of the bar and bay. Russell Hawkins would negotiate the sale of bonds for both ports to help pay for the expenses. While some dredging work would begin immediately, it would take an additional 4 years before any construction would start on the jetty. In short, the Board of Engineers on Rivers and Harbors saw no benefits to dredging and creating jetties to justify its $2.2 million price tag. Nor could the two ports afford their share of the project. A half-the-job plan would then be proposed by the ports, with only some in-bay dredging and only building a north jetty. The ports would cover half the expenditures. The Army Corps of Engineers warned that the action of a single jetty could not be foretold, likely providing only temporary relief. The work proceeded anyways. The North Jetty would be built off the beach of Barview. Rocks for the jetty were quarried near the Miami River and hauled by train 7 miles to the jetty. The 5,400-foot-long jetty would be completed in October of 1917, utilizing 429,000 tons of stone at a total construction cost of $766,000.